Let us look at calculating the midpoint of a line. We have this line here. Where is the midpoint located? Where there is a formula that we could use, but let us see if we can come up with our method, our own formula for calculating this midpoint. The ends of the line are here at coordinates 1, 2, and up here at coordinates, where is it? Above 14. X is 14, so it's 14, and beside 8, and 14, 8. All right. Now, we have this point up here. Let us call it y2. And this point down here, y1. So we're going this way. Along here. It lines up with our y2 and y1. It lines up with this. Good. Now, going across, we have this point. We call this y1, which corresponds with the point at A. So let's call this x1. So this is x1, and we call this point up here y2. So it corresponds with 14, which is our x2. So therefore, the point right here is what x1, y1. So this is our x1, and this is our y1. All right. Get rid of part of this, and then this point here is our y2 that correspond with what you have at B, and our x2. So x2, y2. Good. So we know exactly where we are. Now, we expect that the midway between x1 and x2 is somewhere along here, probably within this region here, wherever it is. Now, how we find it exactly is to calculate. These points keep coming up. Let me get rid of them. Is to calculate the average of x1 and x2. All right? We need to go halfway between x1 and x2. So we calculate the average, the arithmetic mean of x1 and x2. Let's try that. So, somewhere around here is x1 plus x2 divided by 2. Let's try it with these numbers. 14 plus 1 divided by 2 is going to be, or is supposed to be, what, 15 over 2, which is 7.5. Supposed to be at 7.5. All right. So we have 7.5. 7.5. What do we have out here? So let's determine exactly where 7.5 is. Right here. Now, let's see if it's really true. We go halfway. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the left. And then on the right, we go halfway. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ah, it works. It's equal distance on the left and on the right. Left and right. Equal distances. So we find that we are exactly halfway between the points, right? Because we go half of one unit, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Half of the other unit, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright? If we should try 7, when we go to the left, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exactly. But to the right, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We wouldn't be exactly halfway. We'd have to shift in this direction. If we try 8, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the right. We still wouldn't be halfway. So at 7.5, we are exactly halfway between 1 and 14. So it's working out so far. Good. Now, what about the y part? If we take this up here, this b lines up with 8 and the a lines up with 2, what is halfway between 2 and 8? If we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units up, and halfway would be 1, 2, 3. It seems as if it would be 5, you know. But let's calculate it. If we say y1, which is 2, plus y2, which is 8, over 2, we would have 8 and 2, 10 over 2, which is 5. It does correspond. It lines up perfectly. It is 5. So by just drawing it on calculation as well, we see that our halfway up between 2 and 8 is 5. So if we go across, we end up right here. And this point would be beside x equals 5. You see that? Now, let's get rid of this part and this. Now we can identify exactly where our halfway mark is. This will be the midpoint of the line. We go halfway horizontally and halfway vertically. And you can measure this distance here. We can measure this if you want. Stop. Then measure this and stop. And you will see that they are exactly the same length. Alright? Exactly the same length. Now, what we have here is a formula which we can use. Instead of just measuring, we can use this formula. So, the midpoint, call it MP. In terms of x, the midpoint equal, the coordinates of the midpoint equal, in terms of x, is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma. In terms of y, as we saw before, it is y1 plus y2 over 2. So we have the formula. And you know, this is the same formula that I saw in my textbook and on website. So we just made up this formula. We just derived this formula. And we saw before, when we calculated it, the coordinates of this midpoint were x is 7.5 and y was 5. So plugging in the values, x1 is 1, y1 is 2, x2 is 14, y2 is 8. When we plug in these values, what we see is 7.5, 5. 7.5, 5 are the coordinates of the midpoint of this line.